Now let's begin our first session of the day with an update on the Grain Elevator and Processing Society's new programs and initiatives. To provide us this update, we have GEAPS Executive Director Steve Records. Steve joined GEAPS in 2019 with the mandate to implement new services and lead change to ensure the 94-year-old association meets the changing needs of the grain and processing industries and its members. Prior to joining GEAPS, Steve was Vice President of Operations at SCORE, the nonprofit organization of volunteer small business mentors. He has previously worked at the Gallup organization and Nalco Company. He has a Bachelor of Science in Chemical Engineering from Purdue University, a Master of Business Administration and Finance from the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, and has completed the executive program for nonprofit leaders at Stanford University. He also is a certified association executive. And with that, Steve, thank you.
Good morning, everybody. So the good news is I've only got a few minutes, so you're going to have to endure me that long. But I do appreciate you coming here and supporting the session. And for those of you that are GEAPS members, do appreciate that. Mark and Jess asked me to talk a little bit about GEAPS because we have changed quite a bit. And over the last couple of years, as we've all noticed, a lot of changes have been hitting all of us. And so GEAPS is not unlike all of you where we're dealing with change every day. So not to bury the lead of what we're doing, GEAPS is growing. Quite honestly, GEAPS is growing for the first time in maybe a decade, and we'll talk a little bit about why. But we want you to be a part of it, and we're trying to do things to make it easier for you and to show you more value for your companies and all of your employees. And if your companies and employees are part of the GEAPS network, we will positively impact your businesses. Specifically, we'll talk about some safety metrics that we have and also some other data that we're collecting that you can use for your companies as you're thinking about how to engage with GEAPS. So what have we learned from the Greeks? Change is the only constant, or the only constant is change, I guess, is the actual quote. An old Greek philosopher. I think we can all agree with this, right? More importantly, this gentleman, Peter Diamandis, was the founder of the X Prize, the company that funded the travel to space. He's a Greek American, and he said, the only constant is change, but the rate of change is ever increasing. So we're dealing in an environment that change is constant, and the rate of change is increasing as well. So as we thought about GEAPS, had our business changed? Jess mentioned we're 94 years old. Many of you have known us. There's probably a few 30 or 40-year GEAPS members in the room, in fact. So as we think about what GEAPS has done for that time, have we really been changing along with the needs of the market? Quite transparently, our membership numbers have been declining. Our professional development numbers have been declining. And so we took a look and said, what do we need to do to really understand the needs of the market and change with it? So we went to some non-Greeks for some learning. And these are some faces you may know. We can't solve our problems with the same thinking that we used to create them. And GEAPS was really good over the past 94 years at doing the same thing really, really well. Many of you will come to GEAPS Exchange or have been to one. We hope you come to the one to Columbus here in a few weeks, and we hope you come to the one in Kansas City in March. But we have to think differently about how we provide value to all of you. But this is probably the actual better term. And Charles Darwin, he's studied all of the evolution, but it wasn't about evolution itself. It was just about being agile and being most responsive to change. GEAPS did a number of things very well for a bunch of years, but we weren't really responsive to change. And so what happened over the last 23 months? Well, number one, we have a board of directors. Many of them are sitting over here. Many of them you know well. Jeff Jones, Steve Myers, Barb Grove is our new president. We've got a great group of engaged members from the industry as our board, but we've got 11 new board members. So that's a pretty good chunk of our board looking at it saying, we want to do things a little differently. I'm new, and I replaced a gentleman that had been around for about 35 years. So obviously a new set of eyes, fresh ideas, thinking about how do we do things differently. We implemented a new strategic plan. We actually implemented this in March of 2020. Then COVID happened. What happened with that? Well, no GEAPS Exchange. We actually had to cancel our Minneapolis exchange the week before it occurred. We had to postpone the 2021, that's what we're having here in August, to deal with the COVID issues. So we had to really think about how we do things differently, and all in the context of how do we provide more value to you, how do we grow our network, and how do we continue to evolve with the changing markets of the industry. And so we changed our mission. We said our mission is actually to advance industry knowledge and information sharing through a network of global agricultural professionals. And those are a lot of words, but the key words in there are probably network, because that's one of the key values. All of you contributing to the network and getting benefit out of the network and getting more people into the network. At the end of the day, we are a professional development association. We need members, and we need all of you to really understand what you can give and what we can give back to you as part of that network. And we're looking at really 4 ways that we can advance our mission. And one is to grow membership. A second one is to continue to work on how we engage you and provide value to you as members, advancing our professional development programs, and building more resources. So I do want to highlight in on growing our membership. For 94 years, we were an individual membership. Many of you are individual members. But as I mentioned, we had really poor trends with some membership growth and attrition. We were so busy worrying about the things that we were doing, putting on events, that we kind of forgot a little bit about how do we grow members. So we do have some new ideas. We did come up with some wheels. They're not novel. These are tried and true. And by the way, membership is an association problem. It's not just a GEAPS problem. All nonprofits are facing this. But we looked at how the value proposition that we have for pricing, and more importantly, we looked at how people engage with us and buy from us. While Mark Avery is a GEAPS member, and Mark, maybe you're a bad example, but while Mark Avery is a GEAPS member, Mark personally doesn't pay for his membership. Grain Journal pays for his membership. And as we did some research, we found that actually 94% of our members didn't actually pay for their own membership. And so Jess lives in D.C. I lived in D.C. for a while. There's an old adage in D.C. of follow the money. And if you follow the money long enough, you find out who your actual customer is. And so when we're talking with Jeff Jones and Barb Grove and Steve Myers and all, like, well, who's the real customer? Is it you, Steve Myers, or is it Bungie? And the answer is a little bit of both. But at the end of the day, we said, how do we make it easier to be members, and how do we provide an easier solution for companies? And so we started with a group membership. And so the details are here at the bottom I'll hit on, but it's working. Just this year, in the 6.5 months that we've added 560 plus new members already. 410 of them come from this new model that we've created to make it easier and more cost-effective for companies to engage. So we've got about 100 companies or grain facilities that have joined in, and the details are these. For $1,000, your facility can buy a group membership and add up to 6 members. And if you've got a really large facility with a lot of people, and you want all of your people in it, for $2,500, you can have as many as you want in membership with GEAPS. So we've got a couple of export terminals down on the Gulf or out on the West Coast that have bought in at $2,500 and added 40 members. So we're thinking about what's the important thing that we're trying to do here. We're trying to build membership. We're trying to create that critical mass for our chapters. We're trying to do those things, knowing that cost, we didn't want that to be a barrier. So we feel this is one of the ways that we can provide that value to you, to your companies, and get more of your people involved, especially the newer generations that can really benefit from GEAPS. We want to improve member engagement, and I won't read all of this to you, but there's lots of things that we've added in as member benefits. Free trainings, free access to GEAPS Exchange, a lot of discounts with partners that we have. Our friends at Safety Made Simple have graciously agreed to give all of our members one course a quarter. So we're looking at, as we continue to build partnerships, of providing more value to all of you as part of GEAPS. We have GEAPS Exchange. That's one way that we're looking at continuing to engage folks. It's in Columbus in August, and it's going to be in Kansas City, actually, for the next 3 years after that. We know that's a central location for many of you, and we know that we expect that to be probably the biggest conference that we have come March of '22. And we're rethinking how we do our work in chapters. Most of you probably have been to a GEAPS chapter meeting. That's where a lot of value happens. And we're looking at expanding that network, including building some new chapters in Texas and revamping some chapters in some areas that are hard to reach because of geography. Our professional development programs are tried and true. Dirk Meyer was here yesterday. A lot of what we built was based off of work that he did when he was back at Purdue, and we've continued to build and evolve that. But our professional development programs are actually on demand now. So if you have a new employee that starts that needs some technical training on grain drying, aeration, you can come to GEAPS, you can get them into the training immediately. So putting everything on demand, we live in an on-demand world now. That's one thing that we're definitely doing. We've also expanded to non-technical training. So if you have an engineer that wants to pursue Lean Six Sigma, we have training for that. If you have a salesperson, we have actual sales training. And we're continuing to build and expand our partnerships with people like the Northern Crop Institute at North Dakota State, Purdue Center for Food and Agribusiness. So we're continuing to bring more and more resources into the GEAPS network. And then we're looking at growing resources and specifically being more proactive in how we interact with the industry. I won't talk a lot of that, but really taking a collaborative approach versus a competitive approach. So what? So you become a GEAPS member, why? Who cares, right? Well, at the end of the day, we do know that GEAPS members provide positive impact to you and your companies. Not only do GEAPS members tell us in surveys that we do about the savings and revenue that can be generated in the thousands and thousands of dollars, but GEAPS members actually are safer. When we did a survey in 2019, GEAPS members were 33% less likely to have an accident. So that is, you think about that. How many other things can you do? And this isn't causational, but how many other things can you do to influence safety to this degree in your plant? We talked a lot about safety and the things that you can do yesterday. We think GEAPS is one of the best things that you can do to affect that culture, that safety culture that you have. So again, not bearing the lead, we're growing and we want you to be a part of it. And if you be a part of it, you're gonna see some positive things that happen. So I don't know what timing is, but I'll gladly take a question or two if anyone has it. All right, well, thank you very much.